This is Umar for BoxNation in association with Global Next Trade. It's the morning after. Have you had any sleep, Ben?
A little bit, not much, but a little bit.
Yeah, the adrenaline, the buzz of it, just must still fresh.
Yeah, it's hard to go to sleep after big fights and that, but yeah.
Ben, look, going into this, we knew about Justis' amateur career. He's been touted as someone who's going to be a world-class pro as well, and from last night we can see he will be that. We always knew Fabio had that in his locker. In terms of your initial game plan with Fabio, because of Justis' style and his world-class level, essentially, how did you want the opening rounds and mid-rounds to go in your head?
Yeah, being honest, told the team that we didn't expect Fabio to be banking rounds. I think in terms of pure boxing, Huni's one of the best pure boxers in the division. Very, very good. But we thought that there was some opportunities and scenarios that Fabio could exploit. One of them, end of the first round. I think there was another one in the third that was sort of off of one of the things that we'd been working on. And then, yeah, there was some sticky patches and sticky moments in the fight, which we fully expected. One of the last things I said to Fab is, there's going to be some bad moments, and off of those bad moments, don't get too emotional, don't get, just be consistent in what you need to do. And relatively early on in the fight, Wiley, which wasn't something that we focused too much on in the build-up, in the preparation before the fight, but quite early on in the fight, Wiley said, I think our best bet with how the fight's going, because Huni was being quite aggressive, get Fab shuffling back, Huni's going to gallop. As he gallops, take it on. And I think the camera caught that. I think it was at the end of the fourth. And that was what Fab done. Fab half a step back, Huni galloped, and Fab met him with his right hand.
So as those rounds were going on, and Justis' body work was phenomenal.
Very good.
Combination punching was brilliant. Essentially just dominating the fight. What were your instructions to Fabio?
Just that, like I said, we didn't expect to be banking rounds, so we was trying to, being honest, we was getting in there trying to create a scenario for Fabio to knock him out.
Is that all the game plan was?
Yeah, it wasn't just based on, certain things to how can you nullify him putting his hands together. He puts them together well. How can you nullify that? What's the best way to defend against him? You can't just sit there with your hands up. You rattle off combinations, good variety, very hard to defend. One of the things that we'd said to Fabio is, catch and fire back off the first one to interrupt, or change your height and bump him off, slide in and bump him off. But the referee warned Fabio a couple of times for that. So there was too much of Fabio sitting there trying to defend too many. And I think through the fight, there was too much of Fabio getting caught up, trying to think moment to moment with Huni, and that was something that we knew we couldn't afford. He was never going to win that type of fight. At the start of the ninth, there was a lot more Fabio. He had someone who's good at countering, and he counters in combinations. If it's too easy to time, you're going to get countered. So Fabio needed more feints. Start of the ninth, that was a lot better. So that was one of the key things he'd been working on. And when he did do that, you could see he was throwing off Huni's timing, a lot harder for Huni to counter. And then building off of that, building off of those things, these scenarios, this is where we feel like you'll be able to land something or create a scenario to land something big. And yeah, I think that for big portions of the fight, there was far too much of Fabio trying to think moment to moment with Huni, which, as I say, well, you got to know your strengths, you got to know your weaknesses. It was not the type of, we wasn't going to win that type of fight. And even with that, we didn't expect to bank rounds, but we was confident that Fabio could create a situation, a scenario to be able to land some big shots, and we knew it only took one.
Something I think Fabio's not getting credit for is when Justis was landing his body shots. Fabio, I saw, was answering back, even if it was a tap, just jabbing to the body. Was that something you told him to do? Yeah,
certain things and certain moments to do that, keep touching downstairs, and then, they've got to make a decision. If someone's going to, I don't want to say too much, but, you can build off of that, basically. That it's like a branch, like the trunk of the tree. I'm doing that, I can start to build off of that.
When he was coming back to the corner, did you...
The first time he hurt him, sold one downstairs, put one over the top. We knew Huni's reaction would be different to committing with a big single upstairs for him to counter.
everyone knows about Fabio's heart. We saw that in the first Fraser Clark fight. He ticked a lot of boxes in a sense about that. So in my mind, there was no idea of him quitting or giving up last night. But when he was coming back to the corner, how did you rate his sort of self-belief? Did you think in his mind it's going to come at one point?
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, it's all, and we do. It's all well and good going through the game plans, and he does his absolute best to stick to it. That stuff only works, when you're boxing a world bronze medalist, someone who won the Youth World Championships, beat Richard Torres for the Youth World Championships gold. Very, very good boxer. There's going to be some bad moments. Very easy for emotions, get carried away, lose faith, get disgruntled. He didn't allow none of that to happen, and never lost belief, never lost, always kept trying to do the right things, and eventually it paid off. And it's important that he's got that, and it's rare to, you just mentioned it before we got on camera, it's rare to find someone who's got those characteristics, the durability, the power, the athleticism, all rolled into one. And that's what we've got in Fabio Wardley, and it creates for such an exciting fighter in the heavyweight division.
It was some shot that ended it. We saw the celebrations. Obviously, it was an amazing night for him and the club and the town, Ipswich. People really turned out, even though it was raining all night. Just talk to me about that, the emotion afterwards.
Yeah, phenomenal. Like I say, Fabio and Rob have done a fantastic job. They've gone from, I think it was 4 white collar fights, to beating Commonwealth Games gold medalists, numerous international amateur boxers, Olympic bronze medalist, Youth World Championships gold medalist, World Championships bronze medalist, and WBA interim world champion. So, yeah, it's been a hell of a journey. Like you say, amazing for the town, something that the town will never forget, and yeah, hell of a sporting moment.
Do you think Justis Huni is more than capable of being a world champion one day?
Yeah, definitely. Again, boxing skills, those things are the number 1 priority, but it takes certain character to come back from losses and things like that. But I think he's got the right mindset, and I think he'll certainly be able to do that.
Ben, I don't take this opinion because I thought Justis was really hurt, and if that fight had carried on, it could have ended in a bad way because Fabio's a phenomenal finisher. But for those saying that the count was dodgy, etc., your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't sit there timing the count or counting myself or whatever. The referee made the decision. Referees are always in a difficult position because had Huni have got up and Fabio knocked him out in a bad knockout, the referee would have got slaughtered. The referee stopped it. There's always going to be a little bit of, could he have gone on, blah, blah, blah. But there was no complaints from Huni. And, yeah.
I was sitting behind Eddie, obviously, who's Justis promoter, and he was being very vocal because his fight was doing fantastically. He was saying sometimes, maybe to try and get in your head, get the towel in, Ben, etc. Did that cross your mind at all, though, at any point, Ben?
No, I don't think there was any point where I thought Fabio was at a point of no return or really hurt on the verge of getting knocked out. I didn't see that. I thought there was some really good, consistent body work, and there was some good moments, but there wasn't, a moment where I thought, me and Rob and Lee and that need to look at stopping the fight. Not at all. It didn't even cross my mind, and I didn't even hear those guys shouting that out. So,
just to get a couple of more things before we close off. Look, he's having a baby. He'll want a break. It's just been for a very tough fight, and it's probably more of a question for Frank, and I will ask him. But we know Hunter and Pulev, looks like that's happening. I've seen actually Fabio quote a post from Mike Quanta today saying, "I'm ready whenever." So when you're looking at the next steps now, I mean, this has been an incredible journey. It's only going to go up and up. But is that something you'd look, Michael Hunter, perhaps?
I just think with Fabio, I think you just got to, he's got to take the biggest and best opportunities.
So does that include the likes of Parkers, Caballers, Dubois, etc.?
Yeah, I think you got to weigh up the risk, weigh up the reward, and I think whatever sum adds up the best. I think that's the opportunity that you got to take. I think, yeah, that's my belief. To be honest, I think best opportunity. I don't think he's got to be a specific fight, specific route. I just think, and he's got the right mindset, Fab. Like, everything's a bonus. He's not. Like, that was like water off a duck's back that last night. A lot of fighters with the pressure and the expectation, that overwhelms them. Fab's got the mindset of it's all just a bonus. So, yeah, when there's an opportunity where for example, if we say to him, you've got to take a risk there, he's going to be firing back. You're going to run the risk, but you've got to take that risk. He doesn't think twice about it, and it works for him.
To be fair, Frank said similar to me in terms of we're not really building a fire here. And there's nothing to lose, essentially, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And, yeah, like I said, I just think whatever opportunity does the best maths and like I say, brings the best reward, I think that's the path that he should take.
Listen, it was a fantastic occasion. Congratulations to, obviously, Fabio, the whole team, Rob, yourself, everyone involved. Portman Road delivered, and he ran towards adversity.
It was rammed, wasn't it?
Oh, and even in the rain.
I was surprised. It was jam-packed, great atmosphere. Yeah, brilliant.
Listen, he ran towards adversity, and I'm sure he'll do it again. But as I said, congrats, and catch up soon, Ben.
Nice one.